All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of O365Eh. Today's topic is going to be on the announcements of some retiring Microsoft legacy technologies and also some new features that are rolling out on the roadmap. So I'm going to ask Michael to lead us off.
Yeah, so the first announcement that I'm tackling is Microsoft announced on April 23rd, 2018, that less than a month later, so May 20th, 2018, that the Windows Phone apps for Skype for Business, Microsoft Teams, and Yammer are going to be retired. So starting May 20th, you won't be able to download these apps from the Microsoft Store. Microsoft's also discontinuing support for these apps. So although these apps may still function on your phones because you've maybe acquired them before that date, Microsoft's not going to support there. Microsoft also follows that up with an announcement saying we're going to continue to invest in Microsoft Teams and Yammer and Skype for Business on iOS and Android. But yeah, that Windows Phone ecosystem, they're not going to continue to develop for. They say that they are investing in Windows 10 mobile still, but I'm not sure how that can be the case if they're turfing some of their core products off that.
And Microsoft's recently announced the discontinuation of support for customers that use SBCs to connect their legacy phone systems to Microsoft Office 365 unified messaging. So there's a number of customers out there that have legacy systems that connect into Office 365 voicemail or and they use a supported SBC to do this, and that's been a solution that's been around for a while. So just recently they've clarified that they're going to discontinue support for that, and support will go away end of April of 2019. So they've given customers a year basically to determine one of three possible solutions. Namely, completely move off that system to Office 365 so that you leverage something like Teams, to implement Skype for Business Server as a new PBX and take advantage of the voicemail services that are supported for it, or to use a completely, different approach and go third party altogether. Hopefully that's not what customers choose to do, but certainly is a valid option. And just quickly, missing from this was, they had previously in a post back in February suggested that there was a fourth option, which was, work with a third party to connect via Skype for Business and SBC and Exchange And certainly there's solutions that are out there that third parties do support that will allow these companies to connect to voicemail in the cloud. However, these aren't not certified by Microsoft, so you'll need to work with your vendor to understand if that's going to be viable moving forward. So I think that was an important clarification. So, in my opinion, it makes sense to, review the three options and decide what you're going to do well in advance of this deprecation happening again, April 30th of 2019.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, the Lync Phone Edition has end of support this April 2018. So what that means is that obviously the platform is no longer supported, and then also by October 30th, the Lync Phone Edition devices will not be able to communicate with Office 365. And sign in because of the TLS 1.2 requirement on that. So we're going to be deep diving into this topic in another session, so you'll get a little bit more information onto that. Lastly, the last thing that was announced with regards to what was being deprecated is the audio conferencing providers, or ACP, in Office 365, which was the initial ability to provide audio conferencing in Office 365 provided by a third-party system. So there was 4 different companies that gave you that ability, and we're going to talk a bit more deep dive into that in a future session as well. So I want to talk about, some of the new things that are rolling out on the roadmap now. And I find that, my feeling is that, these are really crucial for the Skype for Business server or online companies, wanting to migrate over to Teams, but the functionality that they require are not there yet, right? So, the first feature is the ability to create contact groups. So, creating a group of users just like you do in Skype for Business, and, defining what that role of that group is, whether it's a finance or IT department and so on, and adding users within that group. I think that's going to be a pretty big feature, as well as, the companies that are going to be within transition. So the ability to provide unified presence between Teams and Skype for Business, so that whether I set myself to away in Skype, it'll make the change in Teams, and vice versa. So to be able to have that flexibility to flip between the clients while I'm in the transition to that. And lastly, for me is the which I find is going to be another really big feature, is the federated chat between Teams and Skype for Business online tenants, or Skype for Business server on-prem users. The ability to chat from Teams to other companies, whether they're online or on-prem, I think is going to be, I would say, for me, that's one of the biggest features that would be coming, to be able to, exclusively just move specifically over to Teams, because I have a lot of companies that I interact with on a daily basis, and they're still on Skype for Business. So, I still have to sort of use the two clients independently at this point.
Yeah, and likewise, Hab, one of the big features a lot of people have been waiting for in Microsoft Teams is the ability to bring in your Skype for Business online contacts right into Teams, and having that and the federation capabilities and the unified presence really will allow people to use Teams as the client, their communication and collaboration client, without having to go back to Skype for Business Online. So Microsoft has announced that they are rolling out the ability to import your Skype for Business Online contacts. It'll appear in the chat under contacts. It's been announced. It's been rolling out. I haven't been able to see it live yet myself, and I don't know anyone who has, although I did get the pop-up saying it was importing my Skype for Business contacts, but it didn't seem to do it. So I think a few kinks are being worked out as they roll it out to all the tenants, but we're all really looking forward to that, so we can use Teams more widely instead of just in a Teams context. A couple other things they announced on the roadmap too was the support for message user level policies, which was announced in the context of the new admin center that's coming. But the message level policies allow you to control a bunch of things around the user's ability to chat, like the ability to allow users to edit their own messages, to allow owners in a channel to delete all messages, right down to, enable Giphies in threaded conversations. So that's rolling out. And just more Exchange integration, out of office support. So if a user sets their out of office message in Exchange Online, you'll actually see that in Teams. And also they announced that Skype for Business interop, the threaded conversation will persist. And as Michael pointed out, that shouldn't be confused with persistent chat interop, but that's just the ability to persist chats you have with a Skype for Business online user. So that's some pretty exciting features that are rolling out that'll make Teams sort of a first-class client that users can use consistently. And lastly, I think Michael mentioned that there's an Office 2019 client that's in previews. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, we started seeing some announcements on Twitter, and if you're in like the developer customer experience, you can get access to the preview program of Office 2019. The interesting thing is they're kind of pushing the 64-bit as the preferred bitness of the client versus the 32 that's been around for quite some time.
Cool. What I find really interesting, going back to, we kicked this episode off with some announcements around some technology they're retiring. There seems to be a common theme here around retiring ACP, Lync Phone Edition, Windows Phone support for Skype for Business Online. Do you guys see any common themes here in terms of Microsoft's strategy?
I think what Microsoft's doing is removing any restraints that are slowing their innovation, right? So they are going to that cloud first, innovation, agile methodology. And some of these services like, unified messaging, they were never designed for the cloud. So you kind of have these services built on services that weren't designed for the cloud. And you can see that Microsoft's kind of deprecating these so that they can kind of get that fast forward moving pace that they want.
Yeah, it's all about scale at the end of the day. And I don't think when they started down this path, they ever dreamed that they would achieve the amount of scale that they're doing. So I think they need to look to these next generation products that can scale much more greatly than what they can do today.
Yeah, I think it's just, I guess in addition, sort of, what they thought about was, making it work as it is today, and then started building for the future. And then obviously knowing, as they're planning that, these things need to be at some point, deprecated, right? So that they can continue on moving forward with the new technologies that they're putting out, which, is pretty cool and really innovative that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental shift, though, for the customer as well, right? Like, as Microsoft's in this, kind of reinventing itself journey, some customers are going to have this kind of pain point where they were used to that world where, they roll out a product and they can kind of just live on that for well beyond the supportability window and be still fine. Microsoft will keep pulling them along through the product iterations, but you've seen this fundamental shift where Microsoft is saying, some of these legacy items or add-ons or scenario-specific one-offs, we're not going to be pulling forward.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? I mean, you can't keep developing on old code base, right, and pushing out the same feature set to them, right? With new technology, you're ever building new stuff, so.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, this comes down to a cloud-first cloud world where innovation is the innovation wheel turns quite a bit faster. And if you look at the list, trying to innovate on like the Windows Phone Edition platform and the old Windows Phone clients, that would just be extremely difficult. So. And as Dino said, I think when you look at the scale in the cloud too, whenever they have some legacy technology that's not adopted on a huge scale, that's legacy where they can innovate, they'll trim it to focus on their priorities. So
awesome. So all right, thanks for joining everybody, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
See you later.
all right.